Hello and welcome to Workers and Resources Soviet Republic at an incredibly loud volume. This is supposed to be something of a special thing that I'm aiming for. We'll see what it ends up. Let's try and have reasonable expectations. And never mind this if you don't know what this is. S. There we go. Welcome to TBD. It is 100 years has passed in this land since my administration took over and started, getting the place in order. Back in 1970, the town here, that was but a small village by then, it had a church and a few of these here village houses that we see. But that was it. Here, there were some other towns as well, but this is where the administration wisely decided to start everything. And then it has basically expanded from here, There's just 100 years of game time is quite a lot. And you tend to get slightly out of hand with all of this stuff, because I don't know, I am addicted to this game. I am so addicted to it. It is unhealthy. Yes, it is. I am unhealthily addicted to it, and also unhealthily addicted to keep making these videos. It's the potential audience is so narrow, small, that it's I don't know. But anyway, that's not what we're supposed to be talking about. We're supposed to be talking about working and resourcing and Soviet Republicing. Yes. This here is a great mast that we use for transmitting messages to the world. We don't really have any what would you call it, domestic listeners to this here radio station. It is quite terrible, in fact. The 64% rating. Yes, and the one who may have noted, it was actually New Year's Eve that we joined on of 1999, and now here it says that it is the 3rd of January of 2000. But it isn't, due to circumstances. 100 years of game time has passed. Yes. And we have seasons. This thing it was introduced slightly after the seasons. I didn't know it was coming, and I couldn't wait to apply the seasons to this here save. Now, what can we tell about the TBD? The totally barbaric dictatorship. We are not that barbaric, though. We are actually quite nice. We don't really mind anyone. No one really minds us, it would seem. No one has really gotten in touch over these 100 years here. This is the nuclear power plant. Yes, the twin reactor. It may have seemed a bit oversized when we built this back in 1975. Yes, 5 years into the administration. I don't know if it was finished within the first 5-year plan. Not that there's ever been any 5-year plans as such formulated here. But anyway, so 100 years it gets you, many things is what it gets you. Like a ridiculous amount of vehicles standing around that you don't know what to do with, coming out of every which way. I would say 90 8.9% or so of everything here has been constructed with our own materials. Something like that. I don't have the exact number, but it's an approximation of what it is. So you can imagine that it has taken some time. Yes, it has taken 100 years to get to this point. And one thing that I formulated, when setting up this, when starting this world, was to have it, to get it to a point where it would just run by itself, where you could leave it unattended and it would run in perpetuity, more or less. But due to things, ambulances getting stuck, for example, in front of hospitals, which will eventually kill off the town, as at some point it will, because the ambulances will get about to here, and then the snowplows will plow on, so to speak. And sooner or later that traffic jam will get most likely so bad that deliveries will not be able to make it to the shopping center here. And actually they don't have meat or electronics, but it's a bit of a shame that they don't have electronics. I don't know why they wouldn't have. We have the electronics factories right here, right by the nuclear fuel industry. Here. How are you doing? Yeah, you seem to be doing quite well. And there's 100 tons of electronics here, and you cannot get it to the town down there. Is that so? Well, you see, some electronics will make it there. It's probably not set up as a source for electronics or something. That's technical. Here is a distribution office. Are you involved in any way with? I don't know. I don't know if we care particularly much about this need right now. They will get electronics at some point. We can have a look at the town statistics and see that yes, out of 4,149 productive age workers, we have 2,225 with a radio and 1,922 with a television. So it's not optimal, but then it's not the terrible Sejov distribution office, medium distribution office. Yes, this you if you would maybe get electronics, you can get it directly from the factory. You don't even have to go via the road cargo station. Really? No, you go by the road cargo station. Yes, and there you pick up electronics. And if for some don't do anything else, yeah, that's the only thing you do. Yes. And yes, we have our own nuclear industry here. It works like so. It begins here. Pardon. It begins here in this little town. This was also about the village, when the administration came in here, because a geological survey had found uranium ore up on the mountain there, and the rather obvious thing to do would appear to have been, or would of course would be where are we going? Yes, we're trying to catch one here. There we go. To go cableway. It's the only cableway we have, really, but it's well, I suppose it is something. At least it goes up a mountain, this cableway. It is now possible to actually build cableways up mountains in the game, which is a good thing. But to construct them, of course, you need to get road to them. So there's quite a limit on how severe a mountain you can traverse, and well, since you will be able, you will need to get a road in anyways. Why bother with the poles then and all that stuff? Why not just drive? It is quite steep. It is quite steep indeed, that road. I don't know how they make it up there, or down for that matter. We have very good vehicles. That said, that is. Yes, the top tip, if you really want to get the road in this game, is to do it in incredibly small increments, and it will allow almost anything. May not look great, but I mean, we have to build the goddamn pole. To do that, we had to get a road to it. So, yes. Anyway, that's this is the uranium mine. How many people do you suppose we have? 50 workers. I have limited to this. Yes, you cannot store or export uranium most of the time. And then it's yes, then it traverses down the mountain here on these yes, every now and then we use up a little bit these here conveyors onto this great big heap of uranium ore, which goes into the uranium ore processing plant. Yes. Let's see here where it's indeed, yes, where it gets worked into uranium oxide, which we can see a little bit of in there. Yes. Which in turn turns it into this thing UF6. We should actually increase productivity here because we are low on UF6. There we go. As there's always I mean, you're trying to get to a balance. But this is good. This is running at almost full capacity. I think we have quite a bit of nuclear fuel. How much nuclear fuel do we have? 87 tons. That said, the nuclear fuel production was shut down for a good 30 years or so. Whilst we went through some hardships, but the stockpile that we had and again have, we were not really worried about that. More worried about keeping workers in the power plant. That's more of a problem, more of an issue. And here's the latest addition to the nuclear fuel industry, and it's supposedly a reprocessing plant. Yes, that then takes 0.56 tons of nuclear waste, 2 tons of chemicals. Yes, to make half a ton of UF6. I don't know what that works out to. It sounds expensive, but it's it's a bit. No, you can't. How do we get workers here? Not that way. But if we make them they have a shortcut here. Pretty much. They won't walk there. No, they won't. We will not bother about the nuclear fuel reprocessing at the moment, because we have a solution that has been working well for about 95 years actually. Should we go and have a look at what that is? We have to travel a bit quicker here maybe, because it is a bit of a ways away, which is kind of the point. Although to support this, we need infrastructure out here. Yes, here we can see electrical wiring. Where does that go? It goes to a fire station. No, fire station, sorry. It goes to a place to get fuel for road vehicles. And the road continues here, up the thing, and into a little depression in the landscape that was formed. That was just here, right on the border. So this is the nuclear waste that we have accumulated so far. Also, we actually have produced 2 additional full of these, but they have regrettably caught fire and then thereby ceased to exist. We do have a radiation monitoring thing here. We can keep tabs on it. But the thing is, this line was drawn in here in the sand or in the dirt in the woods a long time ago to see if it actually spreads any further. It doesn't. There's a max to how far the radiation will spread. And one day maybe we shall build a house right about here maybe, and a little town to keep an eye on this stuff. They will be a bit isolated. We don't know. That's for the future to decide. Now let's continue. So that's what happens. That's the we sort of skipped over the most important and the actual point of all of that business with the nuclear fuel and everything is actually converting it into electricity, to power. But to go there, we have to go to Oskarshamn, and as we can see, the cooling towers are over there. So a course adjustment, yes. And it is winter time. It is in January, so let's see how much electricity are we using here. Yes, it's fine. Quite a bit of fuel. Yes, we have 75 megawatts and 70 megawatts, so 64 megawatts, somewhere in that range. Okay, that's all internal, all domestic use. We're not selling or exporting. Right here, not much about that so often. So that is the cycle for electricity. It is not the first source of electricity that we had. Of course, we couldn't quite start with a twin reactor nuclear power plant. We had to get something a bit more quicker in the beginning and a bit less complicated. Yes, the fields, you can see here, it's they do take up a significant portion of the land at this point. But yes, before we got into the business of what does he say? Dividing atoms, yes. Chopping up atoms and turning that into power. We had this Gamla Bettan, she's called Old Faithful. Old Faithful, it's somewhat like that. It's you know, some Gamla Bettan. Old Trustworthy would be an attempt at a cultural translation for what it is we've got going on here. Yes. And yeah, she's not running. We don't even keep workers in her. We rely solely on the nuclear power plant. You know, for a long time we could still run the entire nation off this 24 megawatts here, but we are quite far beyond that now. So we just have to make sure that the nuclear power plant is well staffed. And again, we're back here. This is, you know, the heavy duty industry is what we have here. You see, and that starts here. It's where that starts, because the coal, as we can see, is rolling out Yes, I know. I apologize for the frame rate. It is what it is. 100 years in Workers and Resources, Soviet Republic, lots of stuff going on. So there we have it. And that would probably be an auto set. Thank you so much. Yes, coal goes into coal processors, goes onto coal heap. What is the status of the coal heap? Is it a coal heap? It is not a coal heap, regrettably. That could, however, mean that the steel mill is running reasonably well. Or that a train is in here, maybe somewhere. No. We're simply using it for making steel then. Most of it, maybe bricks too. Oh, I don't think so. We haven't built anything in a while. So we ought to be good on bricks. Yes, a heavy duty industry area we got here. Is there... No, there are no brownouts. The electricity is good. The electricity is good. The electricity grid is an awful mess. But it works. Yes. It does work. That is a brownout though. I would... yes, this. And you have plenty of things to get... yes, this is not good. Should we maybe leave? That might also be the reason why the output of the coal mine isn't really up to snuff, because it doesn't it doesn't do very much. No, let's forget about that. Yes, core of the heavy duty industry. What do we have here? We have steel mill, of course, coal, fire station, mechanical components factory, and then somewhere in here, I think it is here. No, that's a small cargo station. Somewhere in here there is a quarry. I cannot find the quarry right now, but there it is. Yes. So we dig gravel, or we dig stone, crush it into gravel here. Stone crusher. Onto gravel heap. Into cement factory, cement plant and asphalt plant. It goes on. Yes. This was the first town. This is where it all started, and then it expanded. And it's always lovely to see the smokestacks of the steel mill when they are when the going is good. However, the going doesn't seem to be that good. No, we're not here to address those issues at the moment. This is the town of Alvaret. This is where we, after the first winter, yes, since seasons were introduced in the game quite recently, and we were then at I have the notes here, yes, 63 years into the game, so the year was 2033. And then the only way to get seasons into the game, as far as I could understand at that point, since the menu option wasn't available, was to do a thing by basically loading your save world, your world into the terrain editor, and then that allows you to start a new game, allowing you to change preferences. On top of that. And apparently there are two files you can delete. One is mandatory, the other one is optional. From my findings, header.ini is mandatory, stats.ini is optional, but if you do not delete it, your stats will be carried over, so you will continue inflation-wise, economy-wise, everything like that in 2033. your money, if you had any. Well, I think that the balance was like billions or $1 billion at least, and something that would be gone, of course. Instead, you will be what you choose as a starting economy, and 3.5 million for a medium start in the year 2033. That buys you about maybe this stretch of road. Maybe, because I think it's street. If it's street lights and everything, then that's about what it buys you. Yes. A side effect of that was also that this graph here, and even opening this pane up was quite painful. Indeed, because this graph would always show the population from start of time until now, which was actually quite interesting to see, because we had our ups and downs. Currently we are at more or less all-time high here at 58,000. All-time low though was 7,500, and that was after the first winter, because I think only 2 towns barely survived. What happened then is that we gathered the people that did survive out all over the land in here, and tried to keep this their own heating plant. Yes, keep that as supplied with workers as possible, and also keep the food industry going somewhat. That's what we had to focus on, whilst trying to keep the population happy enough to regrow, to repopulate. Yes, regrow. Yes, there are these buttons here. Invite 10 immigrants. We can get people for money, basically, and money we had. However, the save has 0 immigrants. It is only the original population of the randomly generated map as of the first public release, beta release of the random map generator that we're working with here. Yes. And that's one of the challenges that I set out for this, is to have no immigration, because that's and on the Steam forums, which you don't go there for this game, because it will be deterring. Anyway, there is arguments about this, but that says that you don't start on a pre-populated map because you don't get free citizens. I think it's rather. I look at it rather differently. I look at it like, here is our land. We have been. I don't know exactly how this being that we are came into power, but we are in absolute power over absolute everything, and it's necessary because the people are stupid as hell. Basically, they don't have much own initiative and or thought going on. They are ants. Not that I'm disrespecting them or anything. I mean no condescending. Actually condescension by saying that. That might be an oxymoron, might be impossible to say then, but anyway, point is they aren't that clever, so we have to take care of them as good we can. Where were you going with this? I forgot somewhere along the way. We could go and have a look at the hospital while we're here and see if there's a traffic jam. There isn't. Great. What about the second hospital? There's a traffic jam at the second hospital. Then what you want to do is press Ctrl H to reset the vehicle to its place of work. Apparently that was not enough, or it was not the correct ambulance. Wonder if this is because I'm using these Volkswagen crafters here and not something more traditional. But it is the year 2000 according to the calendar, and actually it is like the year 2070. So yes, the architecture is what it is. We can't do very much about it. We don't have that many. We didn't get that many blueprints, and we don't have the what do we call it? Competency within the realm to develop other things. But we have managed to get our hands on blueprints for some different types of buildings, actually. Yes, food is very important, and for 58,000 people you're going to need a lot of fields. You see, all of this, it isn't. It would be more effective in June, for example, this demonstration. But you can, pardon me, indeed, excuse that. You can see the outline of all the fields here, and this is more or less what's necessary. This is just a slight overproduction that we currently got going on. And this is our latest addition. I think that we actually only have 3 towns that are built from scratch, that are not an original settlement that has been developed, but this is the latest. And it was certainly not an original settlement. And what we have in the middle here is an embassy. And if we look at the flag, it appears to be the United States of America embassy. Yes, imperialistsvinen. But there is the hammer and the sickle there, so it's sort of balances out, I think. But this is a bit funny. This is a mod, obviously, and it works as an industry building, as that and an advanced industry even, because it requires both, workers, regular workers, and engineers. So, but it doesn't do anything. You don't put anything in other than electricity, and it doesn't draw that much electricity really. It has a production percentage, yes, but you don't put anything in and you don't get anything out. So this is purely for show or whatever. We have an embassy here. It's nice. Usually it is maybe you put the embassy in the capital, but that's up there, and no, we felt that this was more appropriate out here, and to build a custom town for them and everything. Yes, students are waiting for professors here at the Katowice, Polish Arts Museum here. Of some description. It's and it may also be the case that not all in town are able to walk through it. No, you are regrettably forever. You will not get educated. Of course, we're not animals. We provide basic education. Somewhat. There are quite a few students in the schoolyard here. Yes, this town has been very recently settled, and what happens is that you get a baby boom. So for a time here, all the kindergartens were full, but there was no one in the school. And what happens then, of course, is they grow up and they want to go to school. So we have 19-year-olds here with no education yet, 0.8 though, so I think they're getting there. And I mean, we have people getting a degree and being able to work at the embassy, and also work as doctors and professors and whatever else it is that we need around here to make it. And the hospital seems to be doing fine. Two treated patients there, and one up there. Right, we have quite an extensive rail network. and quite an extensive fleet of trains. And is it the case that this cross-country track that we have just lain in here is actually completed? No, it is not. However, we do need to rearrange the signals a bit, because it is currently preventing further construction, or it is just about to prevent further construction. Yes, we made it just in time for this, in fact. And the little bit dangerous thing is that the other track is completed, and it is not officially open for traffic. However, trains get the idea to go there, and I think that we should implement some proper traffic rules here, just to be safer. Because one thing is for certain, and that is that you can never ever be safe when it comes to trains in this here game. No, this will not do. This will not be good, because that won't work. We need this to be two-way. We will have to deal with whatever issues arise later on. But what we could do is make this bit one way, and for some reason I have the feeling that it's going to be this way. And now we want to look really carefully here that there are no other further signals. And also we want to place a few down while we're at it. This railroad, I do not know the demand for it, if there indeed is a demand. I just felt the need to have a cross-country line that sort of cut through everything here, because we were able to go around and around and around in all sorts of different ways. But no, not really any route straight through. Which doesn't matter, because all we're transporting is goods, and they're not that picky about the speed, unless of course we get a proper snarl up and do not manage to get food to the people. It makes them very, very upset, unfortunately. We need to play more of the Workers and Resources Soviet Republic soundtrack, because it is an excellent soundtrack, even though, yes, it gets a bit worn, of course, after 1200 hours in the game. So I have not been listening to the soundtrack for all this time, but I do know pretty much every tune at this point right here. We're still transporting crops from the farms, from the silos at the farms, I would imagine, into this place apparently. Since it was increasing, was it not? Here we have a bit of crops thrown about here. Over here, there comes a truck. Should we hitch a ride on this here vehicle? We haven't done any of this yet. Taking a closer look at things, and when this feature was introduced, I was so excited, first person, but I feel it grew. It's in the end, it's the third person camera is more interesting, but it is quite nice to be able to look at everything from this perspective. The fields, the farms, the landscape, the electricity grid, the infrastructure, the snow plows, the garage or gas station or petrol station, or a simply a place where you can fill up your road vehicle with fuel. Since you people can't make up your mind on, or decide rather. Well, it's many things you don't decide on. We're not going to get into that neither. We are apparently driving. Yes, of course, we're driving here. We're going to take a left eventually when we get up to the crossroads here. This is, the roads are not looking that bad for winter. We have so many snowplows that it is truly ridiculous. I don't know just how many, but there are hundreds upon hundreds. Maybe not hundreds upon hundreds. There's 100 snowplows easily. There was a train going by underneath us. What was it? You see, that's the kind of thing we miss here from using the first person perspective. And that's the food train. Yes. Which allows us to check in on this. Just to make sure that everyone is very satisfied and happy about the food. Yes, indeed they are. That's a good thing. We're quite punished severely if not providing food. No. Yes, of course we're playing on the hard citizen reaction, which is rather unforgiving. The slightest problem, slightest hiccup in heating, slightest hiccup slightest hiccup. Yes, slightest hiccup, because they don't starve to death. Most of them actually flee, as they call it, emigrate. Yes. When the food runs out, quitters, I say, let them go. They should be confident in the regime or in the administration that it will provide. It always provides, except when we have severe issues, which happens. But we went to a gas station. Yes, to fill up on liquid. A gas station would imply that it supplies gas. Gas, as in a gaseous form. It doesn't make any sense, this, Americans. But you Brits, petrol, what the hell is that supposed to be? Petrol? From petroleum, maybe? Okay, that makes some sense. Actually, that makes a whole lot more sense. Otherwise, but benzene is a very good word. Benzene. It has a nice taste to it. You can taste the actual benzene. Like gasoline, you can also taste sort of. You get the sense of the taste, or a smell taste. Hopefully we don't know how gasoline tastes, but most of us have some sort of appreciation of the smell anyways. So that's that. That was 16 tons and a little bit of scenery. Quite a bit of scenery. We have railroad. Should we try and get the No, I hear trains rolling. Whenever you don't see a train for too long a time here, that means something really terrible is going on somewhere. And that probably all the trains have gathered in one and the same spot. And it is suspiciously quiet here, I have to say. But there is the food train, so all is alright on that front. And here too, here is a fuel train. A GP40 pulling some Russian oil tanker wagons or cars, yes. Here by the nuclear power plant, isn't it just something? And on the extensive rail network here, there are so many from this entrance here that this train just went through. There are so many places you can go. We could, for example, pick up cars here and sell them if we wanted to. Aren't we doing that, by the way? No, the dollar account. See, that's right. We should get that train out on the railroad and sell some cars, I think. Because we're saving up for a huge tanker. It's just that it is slightly too long at the moment here. So I think 3 wagons should be enough to take off. So here we go. Now this would not be very exciting from the first person perspective, but from this perspective we can appreciate the length of this train. And as it's snaking its way out of here, it's a wonder it doesn't derail at that speed. But I also like that this game doesn't really take into account the gradient of the track and such so much. It would be, but I do mind this. The sound here for the wagons. It has never worked properly. It's not supposed to sound like this, and it worsens, I think, with the longer train. But it has never worked properly. But it may just break through here at any point and sound as it's supposed to. There we go. We're making a right turn up. Even though it doesn't sound as it's supposed to. There we go. Sort of. Yes, I think we are at about where we get with this length. Anyway, we're going here, and I hope now that we did take enough wagons off to be compatible with the railroad in here. We shall see. We need to get past this point. Right here is where we need to pass. Yes. It might have been enough to take one car off. But now we're putting cars on the train. Plenty of them at that. And you are getting a full load. There is no shortage of Mercedes W140s here. And we're churning them out at quite a rate. Yes, why are we doing this then? It's because I'll show you. We will have to travel up towards the culture capital. And here sort of the road infrastructure breaks down a little bit. It is just too remote. But we do have a gas station. No fire protection for it though, so should the fire algorithm decide to reap it, we will lose it. But here we have a harbor area. Yes, ships is more of a thing that I like the idea of, but they don't work really well in this game. They are terrible to be quite frank and direct about it. In my humble opinion, the implementation is so severely non-finished. Yes. Anyway, we have bought the contract and are building a Baltic tanker here. And for the next thing, I was thinking that we maybe should load up a whole lot of vehicles on the ship. Now, then obviously it is this one that we want. The current cost for the license is $62 million. Yes. So selling the cars sitting around here, if we keep them around, they will follow the inflation. Yes, and we will get more money for them later on, rather than selling them now. If we sell them now, we get what we get now, and inflation will continue. And the contract will be $70 million before we know it. And we don't get any interest. However, there is the loans system. If we could export enough to pay off, then we could sort of make that work in maybe not quite in our advantage, but at least not. I think at least that we will be less severely hit by the economy and the implications of everything here if we were to do, something like, say, 2 years, and then click away at this about 20 times, and then we'd owe 40 million, but we'd be making cars and everything, and if things would really come to it, we do have a stash here of nuclear fuel worth $63 million at the moment. And we also have a bit of steel laying about 75 million's worth. Okay, 35,000 tons. So yeah, okay, that's pretty good. Fuel about 41 million's worth. So we could get it now, but then again, this is going to take a few more years to finish, especially at the current rate. What the hell is going on here? Why are there so few workers out here? Most likely because there's a severe problem here in the capital. You see, we have lost a few people, and that is completely normal during winter to lose a few. These numbers look quite reasonable though for January, February, I'd say. If there's no catastrophe going on here. Yes, since we're here, then, this is the culture capital. It has gone through 3 name changes, but the culture capital is the final, or is the current one. If it's the final, we can't be quite sure now, can we? This is the smoke that keeps them warm, and this is the Motherland calls. I don't know if she's calling to Lenin up there on the palace of the Soviets, but she's calling to something. She's actually facing or pointing that way. She is Anyway, what the culture capital does is, of course, provide culture for the nation, and the culture for the nation is doing pretty good. A radio. For those who have not gotten to enough electrical components yet to get a television, or however it is you get the television here, and the television station rating 88%. It has an expected influence of happiness of 30% plus. Yes, and lots of culture, and so many good things come out of here. It sets, of course, cultural enjoyment is what we want. The long-range, long-wave transmitter, though, that is set for Soviet propaganda, and I don't know what that actually means here in the year 2000 on the third alternate timeline, where it's actually the year 2070. No, but here, so that's the culture capital. And this is the hubris. This Soviet, it's called, but it is this building is called hubris. This is the second palace of Soviets that we have built, because the first one burnt down just a couple of months after being finished, due to a slight administrative oversight, of course. Only a little bit annoying and a little bit costly to build again. Yes. here we have. So 100 years of gameplay. Yes, 100 years. Should we go look at the long train instead? Maybe. See how it's doing here. It is waiting at the signal. Okay, there's the acceleration. It isn't actually that heavy. But, you know, one of these weighs 1.8 tons. Okay. And you have quite a few of those, I'd say. Not going to do any calculations on that. But we are already up to 100. We do have a slight downhill, so that's good. We got lighter, did we not? 500, wasn't it? 540 tons. And as far as I've been able to observe before, the fuel does actually not is not included in the weight of the vehicle. Maybe it is. I might have made the wrong observations or drawn the wrong conclusions based on the observations that I made. It is completely possible. What will we go... There was another food train. We will go by Kazinchad. Here is the next town on the route. Yes, Kazinchad. That's also an original settlement. It has a church. That's how we can tell if it's an original settlement or something that the administration has dreamed up here. Kazinchad do two things mostly: cement and food. So we have two food factories. And yeah, it's good. It's all good. As long as no train gets stuck in here unnecessarily. Which can happen. And then they starve. But it has to happen for a while, and I think that we have worked out the kinks of this particular system here. Yes, it is completely intuitive how to build railroad in this game and how to have it actually work somewhat reliably. Completely intuitive. And predictable. Most of all, very predictable. How the trains will behave and so on. So here the railroad will split up in what could be considered an enormous roundabout around the lake. Here. You see? Yes, down there, Sernakova is called. The town of De Saliga. They are working here to provide gravel for places where we can't really be bothered to set up a quarry. So we have a quarry, we have stone crusher, we have train aggregate loading, and we can get gravel onto the railroad. And here we're rolling by the second, or rather the not by, we're apparently rolling through the grain storage for the second food factory that we just went past. So we have two of these. They hold 4,000 tons of crops each, and one for each food factory. The other one also supplies, meat industry, chemicals, fabric, whatever else. Is there anything else you need crops for? No. So that's what that does. And this one is only for this food factory. Those are the two intermediate storage facilities. If we should follow the food chain, maybe after we should make it to the border first, and then we can take a look at the food chain. Well, it is It is getting to be spring. Maybe it's a bit early to say that it's spring because late February, 8 degrees, snow has thawed. You know, it's yes. And the Mercedes are unloading. The bank balance is growing. So on the 1st of March, I think they go out sowing at about now. They start sowing, plowing the fields. If we want to look at the food chain, then we should head over to where the fields are. Yes. And that would be in this direction. Here they are. And now it is a bit more clear when it is not also covered in white snow. Just what's going on here. Oh, look at the bridge. It is it's getting somewhere. Have they started sowing yet? No. I don't know when they start. They ought to start about soon-ish. There's plenty of tractors here will be in operation. We could use this if we do road vehicles. Yes, colleague. Hello, colleague. Good morning. Good morning. She woke up. Cats don't really have, you know, the circadian rhythm as we do. So morning is not it doesn't mean the same thing. Anyway, sowing. There is nothing. Yes, there is. It's the first thing in the list. They have not gotten out yet onto the fields. Come on, it's March. It's 14 degrees outside. Get going. Get to work. Well, I'm pretty confident that they can handle it. Yes, so this area is called the Riches, and this is one of the nicest ones, I think. It turned out really nice here with the farms lined up around the lake and everything. So the way we do the food chain is we have lots of these fields and farms. At most farms, the farm is connected to a silo, a grain storage, and then connected to a road cargo station, which has always ready waiting 4 trucks, since that's the amount of parking spaces available. So the crops get brought into here and then in harvest, and then over time the trucks transport all of these crops to the first storage for crops. We can see it over there in the distance. It's a very, very, very tall thing. This is apparently based upon something that exists in Switzerland. It looks very, very brutalistic in its architecture here. It's just an enormous grain silo, grain storage, and yeah, we have. So we put it in here by the trucks, and there are plenty of these road cargo stations. It's quite lovely in autumn when they all come driving in with the harvest. And of course out here there's a fire station to fire protect this thing. And of course the fire protection needs heat. Yes, they couldn't put an electrical radiator in there, so we had to build a bitumen heating plant next to it and burn just a little amount of bitumen here to keep them warm whilst in the fire station. So from here, via railroad, we go And this is all very complicated, of course, but it is all working most of the time. There's Lenin. Hello, Lenin. We wave to Lenin. That's a tradition. Eventually, we'll make it to this junction where we take a right in here into all of this. Oh, lots of stuff going on here, and we end up here by this grain storage thing. And yeah, the train waits until unloaded, and then it goes and gets more crops. And this grain storage feeds then food factory here. It feeds meat industry over to the left here, and it feeds the fabric factory here. Also trucks from the huge chemical plant that we got down here get crops from up there, and it's supposed to stand about here. Yes, it does. And no, colleague, you know very well that this is not appropriate behavior. You cannot be climbing on me at this moment. You know, it doesn't work. There we go. We have your spot is right there. Very good. So this is the huge chemical plant, and apparently it seems to be going at quite a rate. Judging from the smokestacks, yes, 300 workers. That's plenty enough. And this is what it takes. Yes, we have plenty of chemicals in there, and in here we're full. Okay, we have plenty of chemicals. But it takes so much chemicals to do nuclear fuel processing, to create nuclear fuel that it's ridiculous. And ridiculous. Well, it's maybe that's what it is. It takes so much. But what the game provides to make chemicals is this. This is what 3 Division provides to make chemicals. It does the job. 50 workers, 0.5 tons of chemicals per workday. We built one of those. It didn't last, you know, it wasn't enough. We need chemicals for fabric, we need it for plastics, and especially for nuclear fuel. So we built a second one, but still that was nowhere near. So what you do then is you go into the workshop. That's half this game, at least. This game, I would say, would barely be playable without the modding community and all the things that are created. This is exactly, you know, the stock chemical plant. It's just scaled up by 10. So we have 500 workers and we produce 5 tons of chemicals per workday. And I presume that the consumption of resources is also scaled by 10. Yes, it is. Well, except electricity. It even uses less electricity. Apparently. That's no biggie though. But one would imagine that they would need a bit more electricity here. Nevertheless, that's how we get our chemicals. Okay. I mean, we've seen lots of railroad pass by underneath us. What is this then? Now, you see, this is fuel and bitumen storage. Yes, we have quite a bit of diesel in here. And also in here. 13,500 tons in each of these. And they're all full. And you maybe... Yes, you cannot store or export fuel. We could sell some. We could... Yes, we could sell some. Because we actually have two tankers filled with fuel. It's just that it's better to do that when we're getting a bit closer to that contract, you know. Again, inflation. What we have coming here then? You're going to load chemicals. Yes, you will get 103 tons and you will drive them up here where they need it. Here. It doesn't look that busy right now, but I assure you, all of this is very, very, very chemically intensive. If we compare here, you see, okay, then, so reprocessing nuclear fuel, nuclear waste into nuclear fuel, you can produce a maximum of 0.5 tons of UF6 per workday. The regular one does 0.96 tons for the more or less the same amount of workers, yes. But the regular one that uses uranium oxide uses 210 kilograms of chemicals to produce almost twice the amount of UF6 that you need to whereas you need 2 tons to do that. Yes, that's going to be a proposition, but it's I don't think I think it could be done, since we have so much, so very, very much, in fact, chemicals. We do. Yes, that's for a different day, though. That will get involved with that. But yeah, maybe we'll have enough chemicals to actually make it. Yes, if you have a prolific vehicles industry, you are going to end up with an inordinate amount of vehicles, and I mean, these things, road vehicles depots, they are very handy, but you can never get enough of them. It doesn't matter how many you build. And then you get these instead, where you can put brand new vehicles. You have to transport them there. You can drive them out of here, which is very handy. But then it's not a new vehicle anymore, of course, and you can't sell it for full price. Doesn't matter. We do have plenty of these. Maybe we should build something else, but then again, they are quite nice. But what we're doing is, yes, we are changing the production over from the S600 to the 300 TD of the same era. Yes, the W124. That's what you'll be doing. What sort of color should we have? Red? No. Green? Yellow? No. We'll have this. No, we'll not have we'll grey. Yes, that. We have done 140s for quite some time now, so we change over. And really, there is no reason to have any other cars than these two. One for the people who like to be a bit fancy here, and one that is a bit more utilitarian, but still extremely good and comfortable and everything, of course, and dependable. It would have been even better if we could have had the estate version, but we could not get the contract for that, regrettably. It doesn't exist, or no one has made a mod for it. But the mod for the 124 I was incredibly happy for. Yes, incredibly happy. The 123 would also be very nice, and also fit the time frame of the game, perhaps even better than the 124 does. What is this? This is a little meat train that is standing around here with 10 tons of meat waiting for this rolling pipeline to go by. Now, this is interesting. Workers and Resources Soviet Republic now have path signals. This would not have been possible before. It is possible now. Before we would have to wait until that diesel locomotive had made it out of this block, which is way up there somewhere. And you're apparently going in here, sounding a bit odd, aren't you? I think you are sounding a bit odd. So, 100 years. 100 years. How many hours of gameplay is that? I don't know, but most of it, a good chunk, a good portion, I don't know, 90%, 85%, 80%, somewhere in that range, is actually on YouTube. Yes, with exhilarating commentary all along, and especially coherent, sense-making commentary that you see, this is how we get rid of grass there. Hundreds of hours. Hundreds of hours. It's the 16th of March of the year 2000. Yes, now I can see the tractors are out in the field working. Everything is alright with this field. And this is growing. Very good. Here we can actually see a bit of train traffic too. That's lovely. Most of these trains are not very long, but still impressive enough. They do the trick. These are our planks. This train's going around with, distributing, putting every here and there, so it's available should we want to build something. So, I mean, another way to have done this would have been to do a set up a route, for example, with a train and have it go and see where it takes us. But I don't know. We have been using the flying machine here, the helicopter instead. That's worked out well too. So yes, that's 100 years. I mean, there's so much more to tell about this, but it's already been told. Yes, this is sort of a celebration or an anniversary or what you call it, a century of TBD. And this is where we're at. 58,000 population. Yes, we're aiming for a little bit higher. Should we get to 100,000? If we consider that all of this is now fields, we would have to extend the fields by twice the amount, basically, if we wanted to get 100,000 people in here. And not sure what that would do to the performance of it. It might be completely unplayable at that point. How long should you be keeping your world around for? I mean, you can keep on going forever. It was a long time ago that we had every bit of industry implemented here. But then a new challenge came along with the seasons, and that was a proper challenge because we almost died. We almost didn't make it. I actually think I had to do one do-over with it. Well, it's all in the playlists. Yes, the evidence is right there. Evidence. The thing is right there. Now this is more like it. This is heavy, dense smoke coming out of that thing. That's good. And I think that now during the day we do not have a real problem with the voltage here. It's just a slight voltage drop, not really a big problem. Although this, I think the problem is that we are here. No, that goes directly, okay. Aha, the problem is here. We do not supply enough high voltage to this place. That's the problem. That can be fixed. Not now though, but it shall be fixed. So there are many stories to tell, but this will have to do it. It is the summary, and it is the anniversary, and it is the celebration, and it is the whatever it is. I think it's rather magnificent actually, this. And also the way of this way of playing the game, using the construction mode, painstaking as though it may be, you know, it's seeing it like this, and that we are still working on stuff. Are you done with this tunnel? No, you're not. Of course not. But you're done with the tunnel entrance anyway. That's always something. Because the tunnel will make its exit here, and then go on a rather magnificent viaduct here. Over a bit of infrastructure. Yes, we managed, just barely managed to get it in. And hopefully this will not turn out too terrible. No, it won't. It will turn out great. Is what it will. We even have fire protection down here, don't we? No, we have no firefighters. Really? Okay, then I'm going to show you a trick once and for all. If you have a remote spot like this, which is difficult to get, you know, a steady flow of workers to, this is what you do. You need 2 bus stops. Workers go here to the workplaces and the other bus stop. You do the same thing to the other bus stop. There we go. And then we send a bus here. I really don't send buses here? No? Okay, fine. We'll send a bus here. From such as this one. Not that there are any workers waiting right there though. There are plenty of workers. Yes, we're going to do this. We'll take them from there, and then we go out here. Back to right to about there. That ought to do it. And it's also a bit important when you do this to tell it to only get out people at the destination. Otherwise, it will pick up people standing around, which should be standing around waiting for a shift to work, to open up at the fire station or the heating plant. Yes, so you can get going, and we ask you people to work there first and foremost. Yes, that will do for now. Is there anything else that I would like to show off? There's so many things I'd like to show off. I could go on, you know, there are videos here that are up to 8 hours of just me going on and on and on about this. I just can't stop. I cannot. For some reason. But this will be it. We shall find something from the soundtrack to roll us out on, and I think it will be the Workers' March Folk Edition. And then we do a little flyabout here. Excuse the camera work, I'm trying to find something that will actually work. Yes. 100 years of development. We have railroad strain all over the land. We have high voltage wires all over the land too. Not that they're doing their job properly, as we could see. But that's good. Actually, that we found that, because when the trouble is on the high voltage side, it's a lot easier to fix. Just get a new high voltage line in there with more capacity, and that should take care of anything. Unless you have further bottlenecks, of course. Yes, we're flying over the nuclear power plants. We have plenty of other things too to be proud of. It's not just the nuclear power plants. The vehicles industry and the train industry, they have built so many. I mean, the majority of our vehicles that we have constructed ourselves out of our own materials and resources and goods and so on. And this is just not... And this is Molna. This is yet another town. Or another original village that we have so carefully developed into what it is today. It doesn't do much. It builds railroad, and that's what it was intended for from the start. Yes, I mean, constructing railroad takes a long time. So imagine. But if you want to construct railroad, I sincerely recommend that you get from the workshop this KZH461 railway crane. Regrettably, I think it was only findable in Cyrillic. I don't know how I found it. It was only written in Cyrillic, so it's difficult to find, but it's worth it. It's expensive as hell, but it's worth it, because it can bring lots and lots of materials with it on one trip, and it also travels quite quickly. You have to make some compromises, otherwise it gets unbearable. That's a good compromise. You know, I'm going to gain some altitude back here. There we go. And try not to look at the brownouts going on over there at the moment, because I wanted to make a flyover over here too. You know, this is not a bad town. This is a town of about 10,000 people. And they all not all, most of them go to the bus platform at the center of town and get on the bus. 1 out of 25 buses on the line that takes them from here goes via the huge chemical plant, drops off about 40%, and then goes by here, the oil refinery, plastics factory, and whatever else we got going on here, unloads about the same amount again. And then whoever remains, which usually is about 12 workers, because the buses are always full, of course, we take to the steel mill. As we can see here from the traffic, I actually think that this will do quite well as an end shot. Yes, it will. Thank you so very much for watching. And goodbye.